What's that? You got secrets? Chester has secrets tonight? Hi, Hazel. Chester, Hazel's there. Say hi, Hazel. How are you tonight? Oh, Hazel, Miss Kimberly needs a picture of you. Oh, Taylor's joining. Hi, Taylor. I need pictures of all of my dancers. Take pictures and send to me. Is that Armani? Oh, my goodness. Everybody's joining in. Chester, Westchester. Oh, Chester, you can't tell secrets right from the start. We haven't even started our bedtime, cozy bedtime story time. Oh, it's just such a good day today. How is everybody? Oh, Chester. Chester, you cannot start telling secrets now. You can tell a secret. Okay. What is it, Chester? What do you have to tell me? What do you want me to tell? Oh, look at Sophia says hi. Hi. Okay. Chester wants me to tell you. He picked out tonight's cozy bedtime story time because he loves Christmas. And this has to do with Christmas. Such the most magical time of year. I love it so much. Did everybody have a wonderful day today? Oh, Chester, you cannot fall asleep before cozy bedtime story time. No, not allowed, Chester, Westchester. No cozying off. No. Okay, you want me to do the story? Okay, we are going to read our cozy bedtime story that Chester Westchester picked out for us tonight. So exciting. I cannot wait. This book is called The Auntie Claus. And this book was given to me from my niece and my nephews because I am an auntie. The Auntie Claus. Look at this. The Kringle family lived high atop luxury Bing Cherry Hotel in New York City, and they loved Christmas. They kept a Christmas tree up all year round. Mr. Kringle was president of the renowned Jingle Bell Company. Mrs. Kringle owned the fabulous Mistletoe to Nail Salon over on 56th and 5th. They had even named their young son after you-know-who. So there are Mr. and Mrs. Kringle, and there are their children. And this must be Auntie Claus. And there is New York City, one of my favorite cities in the entire world. Hi, Lydia. How are you, sweetie? And Addison. Sophie and her little brother had everything, but if you asked, it was not enough. No, they would say. Was it enough to have their own private soda fountain? No. They would shake their heads back and forth. Or clothes and books galore? No, they would scream. Uh-oh, there's the auntie. Look at her dog is carrying her cape. And they're saying, no. They're being naughty children. It had been suggested by their great aunt, Auntie Claus, that maybe Sophie and her little brother were given too many presents. You can never have too many presents, sniffed Sophie. That's my motto. Oh my goodness, they're being naughty children. Yes, everyone in the Kringle family loved Christmas, but no one loved Christmas more than Auntie Claus. Auntie Claus lived at the Bing as well. She lived in penthouse 25C. Every afternoon, Sophie was summoned there to have tea with her Auntie Claus. Each day, Auntie Claus would instruct Sophie on a different topic. One day, it might be Christmas trees. Always pick a nice full one, darling, with springly needles. Another day was on decorating. You must drape the garland, darling, one strand at a time. You must never throw it on. After they finished tea, Auntie Claus would close with those words of wisdom. And, darling, always remember my first and final rule. Whenever it's birthdays, Christmas, or Halloween, it is far, far better to give than it is to receive. Oh my goodness. Oh, baby Elia just joined us, and Ryan. Hello, sweetheart. And baby Elia is listening to Bedtime Story Time. Sophie wondered about her great aunt a lot. She's so mysterious, she thought. And this was true. There were many strange things going on up in penthouse 25C. Most people considered Auntie Claus just another eccentric New Yorker. But Sophie knew there was more to her than met the eye. For instance, what was the diamond key that always hung from a silver ribbon around her neck? Why did Auntie Claus leave every year right after Halloween and not return until Valentine's Day? Just a business trip, my darling. And she changed the subject again. Where does she go? Sophie wanted to know. Once again, it was Halloween, and Auntie Claus announced, In 1 week, darlings, I'm off on my annual business trip. What kind of business are you in anyway? Sophie asked. That, darling, is something for me to know and you to find out, Auntie Claus had said with a twinkle in her eye. And that was exactly what Sophie intended to do. This year, I have a plan. I'm going to stow away. Sophie had made up her mind. There she is. And she's making up her mind. She is going to follow her Auntie Claus. As she was leaving, there she is waving goodbye. I'm going on a business trip with Auntie Claus, she said. Oh, marvelous, darling. Be home in time for Christmas and be a very good girl, her mother said. Well, do take your mittens, darling, said her father. I'm going to, said her little brother, crying. Oh, no, you're not, said Sophie. I can go if I want to, he said. Cannot, she says. Can too, he cried. Cannot, she yelled. Sophie could hear his ear-splitting scream start to fade as she ran out the door. Sophie tiptoed into Auntie Claus's apartment. There were many, many boxes and trunks waiting to go. Choosing the largest box, Sophie pushed aside the capes and furs and wiggled into them. Quietly, she made a little peephole in the cardboard so she could see everything that was going on. Auntie Claus entered the room. She removed the diamond key that hung from the ribbon around her neck. Next, she placed the key into the lock of her old elevator. The door slung open. The boxes and trunks were loaded, and the door slid shut. Look at the elevator. And that was the key around her neck that she took off to open. And there is Sophie looking through the box. Chester, what do you think? Chester loves this story so far. Oh my goodness! Va-boom! The elevator shut up in the air. It went like a rocket ship. Oh, out into outer space. They were going up, up, and up. Minutes and hours passed, and still they were going up and up and up. Sophie could feel it getting colder and colder. From her peephole, she could see stars zipping by. Or was that snow? We couldn't possibly be in New York any longer, she thought. Oh, look at that. There's the buildings of New York. Oh, and there goes Auntie Claus up in the elevator. Oh, where are they going? Oh my. The elevator landed with a thunk, tipping over Sophia's box. She could see no longer, but she thought she heard cheers. Oh, look at the lights and look at the snowman. The sound soon faded until all became completely silent. Thinking it was safe, she climbed out of the box. Where am I? She said. Where is this that I am? Look at that. Where could she be? You must be the new elf, said a little man. That's it, said Sophie. Yes, I'm the new elf. Who are you? I'm Mr. Pudding, he said. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. You are in violation of elf rule number 3. What do you mean? Asked Sophie. He pulled out a worn green and red book from his pocket. On the cover it read, Elf Rules and Vital Information. He pointed to the section marked Dress Code. Sophie read it out loud. Always look neat and always look snappy. A well-dressed elf always feels happy. Follow me, he said, and he trotted off into the darkness. Where are we going? Asked Sophie. Hurry, hurry, Mr. Pudding called over his shoulder. Only 48 days left. Oh, no. Mr. Pudding put Sophie right to work in the mailroom. It seemed to her as good a place as any to begin her search. Where was Auntie Claus? And what was she doing? For days, Sophie lived among the elves and did her best to blend in. She slept on a cot in the elf dormitory. She ate her meals in the cafeteria. No one suspected. Every day, Mr. Pudding would appear. Hello, Elf Sophie. Are you settling in? He asked. Well, the uniform is a little itchy and the hours are long, she said, and this is hard work. Oh dear, said Mr. Pudding. He pulled out the old green and red book from his pocket. Elf rule number 2, Mr. Pudding said. An elf's work is never done, but hard work never hurt anyone. Oh my goodness, the rules, all the rules, Sophie thought. Look at that. They're all working very hard in the mailroom. For weeks, Sophie looked high and low for her Auntie Claus, but now it was almost Christmas Eve, and she had turned up nothing. Sophie was worried. If she didn't find Auntie Claus, how would she get home? If she didn't get home, how will I get all my Christmas presents, she thought. Just then, Mr. Pudding appeared. Hello, Elf Sophie, he said. Good news. You have done such a good job in the mailroom. You may now proceed to package wrapping. After that, we'll all pitch in on the sleigh packing. I'm not going to package wrapping. I'm not going to the sleigh package. I want to go home, Sophie said. I have to get all my... But before she could finish, Santa's voice appeared over the PA system. Ho, 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 ho. Oh my goodness. It's that time of year, said Santa. And I was hoping one of you would volunteer, ho, 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 and go to the coal mines and pick up The BB&G list. Sophie whispered to Mr. Pudding, "What is the BB&G list?" BB&G, he shivered, is short for Bad Boys and Girls. Any boy or girl that goes without presents or worse for Christmas. Sophie swallowed hard. Uh-oh, she thought. Mr. Pudding continued, "Only the bravest elf would ever volunteer for such an awful job." Yes, a brave elf, thought Sophie, or else a girl who thinks she might be on that list. She raised her hands. "I'll go. I will go to the coal mine." "Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear," said Mr. Pudding. As Sophie made her way toward the coal mines, she could hear the chanting of the BB&G elves. "Spoiled little brats and cry babies, whine babies, and all the ones who don't believe. There's some coal and here's some gunk. Fill a stocking that smells like a skunk." Sophie went down, down, and down, and it became darker and darker. Nobody wanted to go down to the coal mines, but Sophie, she did. Oh my goodness, Sophie is so brave. Look at, nobody wanted to go down and do that job, but she volunteered because she was hoping her name wasn't on the BB&G list. Oh. Finally, she reached the very bottom. There was the list. Sophie looked for her name, but her name wasn't on the list. It was, "Oh, my own little brat of a brother," she cried. "Chris, my baby brother, he's on the bad boy and girl list. Oh no, not my baby brother." Well, she thought once she'd gotten past the shock of it, they do kind of have a point. But then she pictured the two of them on Christmas morning. There would be lots of presents for her and nothing for her little brother. One of his favorite days of the year. Oh, her little brother Chris would finally only find a stinky stocking filled with coal and gunk. Oh, he will be so disappointed. He will be so sad, she said. She quickly erased his name, but now there was a large telltale gap. There was only one thing she could do. Sophie took a deep breath and she wrote her own name on the naughty list instead of her brother's. The ink wasn't even dry on the page when some kind of really strong magic happened. Oh no, right before her eyes, the list, the BB&G elves, the coal mines vanished, and Sophie was in a tailspin, whirling and whirling and whirling around and around and around. And the air, it blurred. Christmas red and green. Was she up? Was she down? It was a tailspin. Where was she going? Sophie was standing on the stage in the grand ballroom. A clock struck midnight, and there was Santa. Look at that. Santa began to speak. "Ho, ho, 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 ho! She's always on time. She works harder than anyone I know, including me. Ho, 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 ho! In short, she does things right, and I wouldn't be lost without her. Let's give a big round of applause, everyone, for my sister." And the curtain opened, and it was Auntie Claus. Auntie Claus, Auntie Claus. Everybody cheered. Hooray, hooray for Auntie Claus, Santa Claus, magical and wonderful sister. Auntie Claus is Santa Claus's sister. Turning to Sophie, Auntie Claus winked and said, Come along, my darling. You must be home in time for Christmas. Sophie could not believe that her very own Auntie Claus was Santa Claus's sister. Oh. Sophie was about to climb onto the sleigh when Mr. Pudding appeared. He was waving the green and red book in the air. "Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear," he replied. "Auntie Claus, Sophie cannot leave until she knows the first and final rule. See, it says it right here under departing procedures." The reindeer stomped restlessly, and they shook their heads as if they said, "Let's go, let's go." The reindeer wanted to go. "Sophie knows the first and final rule, Mr. Pudding," said Auntie Claus. "I do?" asked Sophie. "Yes, you do, my dear. Now hop onto the sleigh. There's a very good girl right here." Mr. Pudding wants her to follow the rules, but Auntie Claus knows that she knows the rules. Oh, look at that. There's a snowman. Do you see his nose? Sophie jumped onto the sleigh, and it rose up into the night. "Goodbye, goodbye," she cried. She could barely hear her auntie's voice over the wind and the snow. "I knew you had it in you, my darling. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas." The sleigh picked up sled. The reindeers were going as fast as they could. "Hoo, hoo, hoo!" Santa laughed as the stars whistled by. Sophie closed her eyes, her face stung with the cold, cold night. There they go, and they're going to New York because there is the Statue of Liberty. Look at the reindeer and Santa's sleigh. Oh, when Sophie opened her eyes, she could hardly believe she was in her own bed again. She ran downstairs toward the living room. "Oh, please, please, please let him get his presents," she said to herself. Under the tree was her little brother. His cheeks were red, and his eyes sparkled, and his belly shook with laughter. "Oh, Merry Christmas, Sophie," said her brother. "Oh, Merry Christmas, my little brother Chris," Sophie said with great relief. It was then that she realized that Auntie Claus is right. "I do know the first and final rule," she said to herself. "It is far better to give than to receive." Look at the joy in her little brother. "There's something here for you," her mother and father said. They handed Sophie a tiny box with a card. Inside was a diamond key hanging from a red ribbon. "It's from Auntie Claus," Sophie said. "Where is Auntie Claus?" said her little brother. She's on a business trip, darling," Sophie said, and she smiled. Suddenly, a thought occurred to Chris. "She's never here on Christmas," he said. "What kind of business is she on anyway?" said her brother. And she said, "That is something for me to know, and one day for you to find out." And someday he would. But that is going to be another story. And they all lived happily ever after. For my dear niece Sophie, you really are a chip off the old block. Love, your Auntie Claus. I will be expecting you, darling, for tea on Valentine's Day. The end. Oh my goodness. That might be Chester's and my favorite book so far. I want to be Auntie Claus. I do, Chester. I want to be Auntie Claus. And you could be the head elf. And you could tell all the other elves all the rules that go along living at the North Pole to be a good elf. Oh, Chester, what was your favorite part of the book? I don't even know where to begin. It was so magical and so special. And it just made me remember how magical Christmas is. And what goes along with Christmas? Our Nutcracker Ballet. And I cannot wait for our Nutcracker Ballet to come back again. Oh, I'm so excited, Chester. Did everybody enjoy our cozy bedtime story time tonight? I hope you did. Chester, yes, I know you did for sure. Please promise, Miss Kimberly, you take lots of pictures of cozy bedtime story time and send to me. I love seeing pictures of you. Chester's falling asleep because that was the coziest book. And when you read a cozy book, you can fall fast asleep and have beautiful, happy, magical dreams and dream of sugar plum fairies dancing in your head. Chester is sound asleep. Everybody tuck into bed. Remember to thank God for your wonderful day. I love you, all my beautiful dancers. Everybody sleep tight and dream of sugar plum fairies dancing in your head. Good night. Sweet dreams.